bing, 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 bing. Reservoir Dogs. Maddie's going to a fancy dress party, Tarantino-esque themed party, and I thought she could be looking for some characters in this film. I want to go to a Tarantino party.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea, isn't it? I'd like to just go as the beaten to a pulp head of the Mexican in The Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah.
Just a splat. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We've just come out of the cinema, we've just seen it. Now, for our American followers, you guys have had this film out for like weeks. That's so frustrating. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's Quentin Tarantino's 9th film.
Ours is making one more.
So apparently he's only making one more. He said he's only going to make 10, but I do think that if this does well at the box office, he might change that. The only other director who kind of had a numerical attachment to the number of films he made was Fellini, which is why his film 8.5 was called 8.5, because he'd made 7 films and a short before.
Can we just say what they referenced to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Why don't you say for us, Mum?
Because, oddly, Tarantino's favourite director of all time is Sergio Leone, who did the spaghetti westerns.
So yeah, he's riffing on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's a long history to that title. There was, of course, Once Upon a Time in the West, which was a spaghetti western. And then there's Once Upon a Time in America, which was actually a mafia film starring, I think, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and all that lot. So this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's trying to clearly transpose that idea in those 2 other films of lawlessness and the Western idea and the sense of the frontier and threat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's parked it in the centre of Hollywood, which I guess the frontier here is kind of cultural, isn't it? It's the way in which hippie culture kind of comes into Hollywood, and obviously it pivots around. In terms of historical events, the Sharon Tate murders, although as you're about to discover, it doesn't. It's the story of an actor called Rick Dalton, who's a fictional hybridization of countless TV actors, male actors who were cowboys. Now, the thing about a Tarantino film is, no Tarantino film is just the film you're watching. Yeah. I mean, you almost have to go with a kind of film history book and kind of get all his references. But the problem is, as we saw in a recent interview with Leo, is it's very hard to get all of his references because there's so bloody many.
Yeah.
What did you think going into this? Were you, given that you, especially Maddie, were unaware of probably the what America and life was like in the 60s, as was I, but also all those film references sort of won't have been there for you. When you went to see this, what were you hoping for from it?
I don't really know, because from the trailer, I wasn't that excited about the film. Obviously I was excited because it was a Leonardo film, but I didn't think the trailer was that good.
No.
And obviously I love Tarantino, so I was excited about that, and Margot Robbie. I don't think I really knew what to expect, because I remember when there was just talk about the film, and I thought that he was going to be playing Manson, or like, I thought he was going to be playing somebody else.
Right,
important.
So I didn't know what I was expecting at all.
But you knew it was going to be a film riffing about Hollywood. I mean, the title kind of gives it away. After the trailer. But I must admit, I watched the trailer and I thought the trailer was incredibly confused.
It was messy.
I did. I saw the trailer about 3 times. I saw 2 versions of the trailer, actually. And I didn't like it at all.
No.
So I went in, but I discounted the trailer because I thought I'd read enough to start thinking this was my time.
I mean, the thing about Tarantino is he makes films with energy, and he makes them with references coming out all over the place. So essentially this is the narrative of over about 3 days, though it does bounce about in terms of timeline. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly about Leonardo DiCaprio playing this sort of, you know, actor in the twilight, the end of his career, or facing the fact that his career is coming to an end. A long protracted scene with Al Pacino in a bar. Here's the thing that I felt. I mean, I've read many reviews that say there's lots of little individual vignettes, little scenes.
There are.
Which in and of themselves, I kept striving to connect to each other. And they did kind of connect, because they're all about the same characters. But they seem to be, I felt with that first scene, I really liked it. I was getting into it, Al Pacino and Leonardo DiCaprio talking in the restaurant.
All right.
No, and it was only all right.
I thought it was only all right.
But it didn't go anywhere.
No. And that's when I actually thought that this film, unless it tidied itself up a bit, has got no script.
Unfortunately for me, that scene was a bit of an alarm bell.
Yeah, it didn't really make me laugh.
I do know what you
mean. It didn't really make me smile. It didn't really make me feel anything. And I think that it was kind of the first big scene in the film. And you kind of think with the first big scene in a film, you at least try and make it funny or something.
Yeah,
and also, it was the first big scene where he's got his first big cameo. I mean, Al Pacino's no small character actor. So to be dragging him in, this is a very significant scene, and it felt like, as scenes go, that it kind of... I tell you what I felt. I felt so that scene happened, and then I can't remember the order of the scenes. See, the problem for me is, this film, although it takes place over a very contracted period of time, I struggle. I feel like I've watched a jumble of individual scenes all thrown at me, and if I'd gone into the edit, I could put them in any other order, and they'd still function, but they might function in a slightly more convincing manner. So that scene happened, And clearly it happened to set up that moment in the car park between him and Brad Pitt. But what I did like about that scene was it gave me the thing that I think this is probably this film's strongest element for me anyway. And I think that's the buddy movie between Brad Pitt. I wasn't expecting it to be such a buddy movie.
I really liked their bromance.
Yeah.
Oh,
what did you think of Brad Pitt? How did you...
Well, I never think Brad Pitt can... I mean, I think he looks gorgeous, but I've never thought he can act.
I've always hated him.
Yeah, I know you've
as an actor.
But I thought he was great in it. I thought he was absolutely just right.
Yeah.
And he meant he was pulled back, he was pulled in.
Yeah.
And it meant that Leo could really go for it. And Leo's astonishing.
Yeah.
As
I really felt sorry for both of their characters as well.
Right.
At times.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of felt like Brad Pitt's character was a bit of a, what did you say, bimbo or something?
Yeah, he's like a male bimbo.
It's
Yeah,
a bit
absolutely.
like stupid, taking his shirt off and all of that.
Yeah.
But I felt really sorry for him as well. I wasn't expecting to feel so much like sympathy for the
Empathy.
character and empathy for the
No.
character.
What did you think of his role? I mean, there must have been countless people like him with all these stars
Yeah.
who were sort of their lackeys. But
But also, what I thought was quite clever was that we watched him all the time bigging up his mate, and making him feel better and all of that. But then he gave us one little scene. I think he was driving maybe, where he was saying how it meant he'd got nothing to do and he was a washed up.
Yeah.
And it didn't go for sympathy.
Yeah.
But it was. I thought he did that really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I'm going to go so far as to say I think this, for me, is one of Brad Pitt's best performances.
I do.
And I think for that alone, I mean, he looks great. His shirt's wonderful.
Tad really wants his
Oh
top.
my God! I don't only really want his shirt. I want his abs.
No,
I mean, his abs. Don't want them. No, but I mean, seriously. I mean, I thought he was.
Weird again.
No, but I thought he
He
had.
took his top off in the film and Dad was like, man crush.
Yeah, he does. I want Brad Pitt to change my aerial.
What about the way he went up to the top?
Oh, that was hysterical.
That was quite funny.
Well, and ironically, I mean, there was a film, Burn This, where Brad Pitt played the sort of the slightly camp fitness instructor, and I was worried we were going to get another rendition of that.
You always go back to that.
Yeah, because I felt he was so close to getting it right in that film,
okay.
but he kind of got it just a bit
I
wrong.
loved him.
Oh well, but I thought in this film he was brilliant. Now I think Tarantino dropped the ball a bit with him. I thought he could have given Pitt. I thought he could have given Pitt more comedy, because where it sparked up humour,
yeah.
I thought the scene, there's a scene where he goes up to change Rick Dalton's what's it called, aerial, and he does some sort of stunt moves to get up there. And there's a brilliant scene. I mean, we have to talk about some of the scenes that all the reviewers are going on about.
Bruce Lee.
The Bruce Lee scene, absolutely.
Tarantino gave him that, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the plot, Bruce Lee. Absolutely nothing.
No, absolutely.
It's a protracted scene.
And that's what I mean, though. You get
funny.
now. Does Bruce Lee mean anything to your generation?
Yeah.
Oh, he does.
he?
Yeah. Because there were moments in this where I was sitting there thinking, is this going to mean anything to
No,
Mandy?
it made sense.
Oh, it did. What did you think of that scene with? There's a scene where basically Brad Pitt is on the lot and he comes face to face with Bruce Lee, and they have this kind of spar off.
A fight. I thought it was absolutely hilarious because Bruce Lee was making all these noises.
Yeah.
Wah! And there's one small bit where Brad Pitt made a little noise back there.
Yeah, just one little noise. And that little noise that he made, for me, is why this is his best performance. Because I thought he showed restraint in the whole film.
Yeah. Yes.
Didn't he?
Yes.
He underperformed, but wasn't, for the first time in his career, aware of it.
You've got to be a good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the thing, I wanted him to have more funny bits.
So did I.
And I wanted the whole film to have more funny bits.
That's a good point. Yeah, the humour. Well, let's talk about the humour in the film, because the thing about Tarantino is he thinks he's very funny.
Yes,
I mean, he is. He's funny odd. What do you mean, funny odd? Funny how? He's funny odd, but I didn't laugh. I laughed about 3 times in this film.
Oh, okay.
And when they say as well, when you laugh, it's like you laugh out loud. It was all right.
I mean, I was laughing. I mean, the other thing.
I laughed more in Hateful Eight.
Yes. Well, and also the thing that I get from Tarantino is he makes, what I think he's a master at, is making you laugh as a nervous reaction to something awful happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any of that.
No.
I felt an increasing tension. Whether it was,
yeah,
I mean, my
that's
heart
what
was
I said in
thumping
the
like
car.
mad towards the end.
Talk about that, Maddie, because you were very good.
Feeling like it was kind of
building
somewhere, and it was kind of it was like you did feel kind of on the edge the whole time.
Yeah.
But I felt like we were building towards something that never happened.
I like
without
the fact
giving
that
too much
it
away.
didn't happen.
Yeah, but you see, we were arguing like cat and dog in the car about whether this was an intentional thing. The film does have a sense of brooding build and threat, and there's a sense of, like great films like Goodfellas, where Scorsese masterfully gets that increasing cocaine-fueled sense of paranoia.
Yeah.
I thought this had that sort of almost kickback reverse of that, which was laid back LA sort of thing.
I did.
But then I was reminded, do you remember a film called Short Cuts by Robert Altman? And in Short Cuts, there's a series of like random stories which are all pulled together by at the end an earthquake. I felt that this was building to something, but I felt it lacked, surprisingly for Quentin Tarantino, I thought it lacked a killer punch.
But can I just say, I sent Mark a quote this morning from Joan Didion, who was a writer, and she used to live next door to the Tate people. And jittery is the important word there. The whole film was jittery, and I think that it's sort of on a knife edge like this. And the period that he's talking about, I mean, obviously I was in England and everything, but new drugs, the war in Vietnam, suddenly young people not being, going out and not
Well, I suppose
coming
young
back.
women just wearing shorts in that provocative way.
Absolutely, young women offering to do things in cars to men, and men had to worry about underage girls.
It was deeply unsexualized, ironically, as a film, if you think of how much sex was around. And I wonder whether part of that is because of Quentin Tarantino's association with Harvey Weinstein, they worked together on a lot. He's trying to distance himself from that whole thing. I wonder if he over sort of massaged out the sex, because it felt like an inauthentic detail, that the men would have been more lascivious. So, for example, there is a scene where Brad Pitt refuses the advances of a girl, and I didn't believe that he would.
Well, I probably would have believed him if he hadn't been so kind of suggestive before.
Yes, stopping at the lights,
kind of flirt and
That's
stuff.
a good point.
If there wasn't any of that, then I mean, just because you're a stuntman in Hollywood doesn't necessarily...
No, it doesn't mean that all stuntmen in Hollywood are
and
dirty
he wasn't really
first.
flirting, he was just sort of...
Well, I mean, he was a bit suggestive. Like, as a girl, you'd be like, oh, he likes...
Well, let's not forget, there's the inference that Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt's character, there's the inference that he killed his wife.
Yeah.
And I love that as a little narrative detail.
Well, also, and I remember saying this to you before the film came out, and typical me, I can't remember the names of people, but somebody big in Hollywood who had that role did kill his wife. And then, supposedly, nobody knows whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
But I thought
I really liked the scene.
It was a wonderful scene. They do a flashback scene, don't they? Describe it. Where is he? He's on a boat.
He's on a boat with his wife.
The woman just nagging.
Yeah,
with Natalie Wood, that's right, they said
right.
that, and she was a real person.
Yeah, you can just hear her saying, I'm on this rubbish boat,
this rubbish guy.
It was a shit husband. And he kind of just puts on these
diving gear,
scuba goggle things on. He's looking really fed up, like opens his beer and it like splats on the goggles, and he sits down with this big like harpoon.
Yeah.
And she's standing in front of him, and then it just suggests that he pulled the trigger.
It suggests that he harpooned his wife in the face.
Yeah.
So it was really.
It was very funny. Most funny for the fact that you just see Brad Pitt with this kind of slightly condensated sort of.
And whenever
eyes.
they're describing him all the way through the film, they say the man who supposedly, or
the man that killed his wife and got away with it.
Yeah, got away.
What did we think about the cinematography? Because I mean, Tarantino is a cinephile. He loves his camera, big sweeping. He makes a big thing about there are 35mm prints of this being shown in London. It's a big deal. I felt this exploited cinema less, ironically, than something like The Hateful Eight or even Pulp Fiction.
I didn't think it was very clever with the way it was shot. There was like one cool shot that I love, which is Leonardo in the pool and it going from the pool to Sharon.
Sort of pulls up over the top.
Which is, I felt, was the only kind of, different way. Whereas the rest was just very simple.
Standard,
it's just
I
kind
thought.
of like
And he's good
I
on
would
his...
agree with that, but at the same time I didn't miss it because I thought everything else was so
I did
good.
really like the colours.
Yeah, that dust, it was bright, but it had that dusty 60s thing to it. I mean, I almost feel that whoever was responsible for Brad Pitt's wardrobe nailed the film in his wardrobe.
Yes,
you love that.
I just want that shirt, man. I want that shirt and the t-shirt. Anyone tell me where I can get them. What did we think about the idea that, Tarantino has famously talked about with Inglourious Bastards, what do I do with Hitler? He's in a cinema, what do I do with Hitler? Oh, I know what, I'll just kill him.
Yeah.
And he kills Hitler in a cinema. Hitler didn't die in a cinema. So he takes history, he takes real people, and he subverts what happened. That kind of bothered me with this. Did it bother you guys?
Didn't work with this,
No.
Because what I was saying to you guys, honestly, was I felt like the whole film was very... I could feel Tarantino getting really obsessed with the factual side of it, with like the times, what films he was in, and the years and everything. And I just kind of felt like if you're going to be that factual and that like precise the whole way through, then you should carry that out and not kind of... I don't have a problem with the story being changed at the end, but if the whole thing had been less...
meticulous.
Then that would have been fine. But it kind of felt like I've been sitting through all of this factual stuff that I wasn't enjoying for no reason.
But that was the whole point of the film, was the relationship between the two guys. Well, you like Leo, and you like... So
but you can't... Yeah, but you can like Leo, but not like the... Yeah, but what do you mean? I'm interested in that. What do you mean that's the whole point of the film? What is? Subverting history?
Well, the history thing was an entirely sort of... He could lose that completely. And I sort of hoped he would. And up to a point, I think, when Mads and I came out, and I said, my God, that film was unusually restrained for Tarantino.
Right, yeah.
Waiting for the payoff. The payoff comes, but not in a way you expected.
Yeah.
And I thought that was brilliant.
You know, I don't mind the fact that it was very different, the ending, and it wasn't historical. What I'm saying is... What I found confusing was the rest of the film was so historic.
Yeah,
I suppose what you're arguing is why be so encyclopedic about a film star's films, and where he was and what time he was there.
That's
if you're going to then
jettison,
actually. I suppose in a sense it's
couldn't let go of it, maybe Tarantino.
Well, no, but maybe being sort of favourable to him, you can get an unreliable narrator, which is quite a nice device. Maybe he's trying to be an unreliable historian.
Yeah.
So he's kind of purposefully giving us all the material. It feels almost like Tarantino wishes Rick Dalton was a real person.
Oh, yes.
And he's tried to give him the background.
Yes.
And he's kind of blurred things so much that you never know, in 50 years' time, we might all talk about Rick Dalton as if he was someone who existed.
I love that as well. And I also love I didn't mind the narrator thing, whether he came in or went or when he came in at all. And I love things that come up on the screen that say things like 10:30 Hollywood, the day of.
I liked all that. But I don't like it if they're doing that in such meticulous detail. Well, here's the thing, this is a spoiler review. I mean, we get to the end of the film. I have to confess, and I don't know why it's a sort of a crude simplicity in me. I wanted the Sharon Tate murders to be featured in this. And you don't get them.
Because obviously
I feel bad for saying that.
There's a big drama within the film.
Yeah.
And I was thinking after that maybe the Sharon Tate thing would still happen. He could have really shocked us at the end.
Yes.
With because I thought there
was going to be a reveal.
When Leonardo was walking up with I think Sharon Tate's husband or whatever towards the house, I thought what it would reveal as they came up to the house was that they were all dead. They'd actually killed them earlier in the
evening, maybe.
I thought there was a possibility of that.
But there was nothing like that, and so I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I found the
payoff disappointing.
disappointing.
You kind of expect Tarantino to shock you like that, and I didn't feel any shocking bits within the film.
Well, in terms of menace and sort of jitteriness and all the things that we've already said, maybe that scene that takes place between Brad Pitt and the women.
So when he goes to the sort of ranch where they're all living.
I liked the tension in that.
Yes.
But then again, nothing really happened.
Yeah, even the payoff was a dodgy old man, brilliantly played by Bruce Dern. He was fantastic. He was fantastic.
But he watches TV.
Well, again, that individual scene, brilliant in itself. But as part of a narrative course of events, Brad ends up going in and ends up coming out, and it's kind of purposeless.
Yeah, he didn't try again with it.
I didn't feel that at all. I mean, I wonder
meandering.
Oh, I did,
and I found it very meander. What do you think, guys?
He does meander, though.
Well, he does meander, but you can meander with some purpose.
Yeah, with some humour at least.
Well, I felt that was the climax of the film, and the climax doesn't have to come at the end. And then you have a smaller one at the end. God, that sounds really sexual.
Right.
No, but what I'm saying is
let me finish. But that scene that takes place in the lot.
Okay, you felt that was a climactic scene.
That was the scene that we were all waiting for, and we had to feel a threat there.
Yes.
What I'm from the girls is that I didn't feel any of that.
No, I didn't, and I think if you wanted to,
it was tense. It was well built.
It built it,
and I was enjoying it. But then nothing happened. Nothing happened for me to be enjoying that time.
Okay.
There was nothing that kind of hit or shocked you. What I'm saying is that I can appreciate that it was a tense scene and that it was well done, but it was just like. And then, when his tyre was burst, I was like, this is great, like, maybe he's going to get stuck or maybe something big's going to happen.
That's the end of the scene, but what about
the bit he just had a tyre in the back of his boot and beat up a guy and made him fix it, and then he was out.
What about the whole when it was long for that film, without him shooting off, of whether Bruce Dern was alive or not? I mean, whether the old man was alive.
Yes, that was great, but I was hoping that Bruce Dern was dead.
Well, of course we all were.
Yeah, but that's my point. It never had the killer punch. And also, if you're going to have a scene of such drama with the Manson cult, sorry to be old-fashioned, put Charles Manson in the fucking scene.
Well, I think probably
Put Charles Manson in the
legally
scene.
maybe he couldn't for that.
What, Charles Manson's going to sue him from beyond the grave in prison?
No, just that Manson wasn't.
But, you know, what I felt like, I tell you what I felt like, I wondered whether he wanted to kind of tackle the Sharon Tate murders head on, but I wondered, here's what I think secretly, I wonder if Polanski's lawyers and Sharon Tate's family might have got involved somewhere.
I think that's
And he was
very,
forced, he had his hand forced, having committed to the casting of all this stuff,
Yes.
to having to tell a very sideways story. And I think the film suffered. There were great long sequences in it of shots of driving cars and all that kind of stuff. A couple of moments in there, truly, you know, I have to salute him as a filmmaker. He will have had to have closed off huge swathes of LA to film those shots up and down the streets. I mean, quite remarkable. So, you know, that was amazing, just the spectacle of all of that. But I just felt like there were great long shots where I could almost feel Tarantino in his director's chair going, where the hell do I take them? Where do I take them next? Where do I go next? What do I do next here? Where do I actually take them next?
There was a lot of like filling in.
It felt like a lot of filling in. And again, given how long it is, it's 2 hours 47 minutes. Trim half an hour out. Trim half an hour out.
Well, I mean, I'm usually pretty big on too long, but because it did seem like a sort of kaleidoscope of my young life.
That's a lovely way to describe it. I mean, I think that's what it was at its best. That's what it was.
Yeah. And all the scenes of going past cinemas where all the people that they mentioned were real people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was amazing to me.
But people have been banging on about Damien Lewis's Steve McQueen turn. I thought it was all right.
That must have ended up.
That was odd. Like Tim Roth's entire performance. He's in the credits, but he's not in it. Okay, Maddie, you are a Leonardo DiCaprio fan. What about Leo's performance? I thought there was some absolutely standout moments.
I thought he was incredible. Don't get me wrong. And like, there were some scenes in there that really stood out. Like when there's this 9-year-old girl who I thought was absolutely amazing.
Oh, she was brilliant. She's brilliant.
There's a bit where she's just done a scene with him, and she goes up and she whispers in his ear, that was the most amazing piece of acting I've like ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I thought the way he reacted to that was amazing. Like he teared up and stuff. And also the other scene with her when he first met her.
Yeah.
And he's like telling the story of his book, but really he's telling the story about himself.
Yeah.
And he like breaks down. I just thought those bits were really, really
He played that brilliant. I had one real frustration with that scene. That was the first moment of power acting from Leo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tarantino, you needed to cut into a close-up.
Yeah.
You needed to cut into a close-up because he had him on a side shot with Leo looking profile.
Yeah.
And he was acting his fucking tits off.
Yeah.
And the girl was acting her socks off. He needed to cut in. Now, you know, what a weird moment to say I'm going to stay on the wide. It wasn't a particularly cinematic shot.
Okay.
He just didn't have that covered. I felt he just didn't have that covered. I don't think Tarantino knew that Leo was going to give him as much depth to that scene as Leo gave it.
Maybe,
That's
and things like that do happen. And you are in a situation where you're shooting films where budgets are in, you've shot that scene, you've got it, you've got it, and you know he's done this amazing thing.
Yeah.
But actually, they picked up that moment where he kind of had a tear and all that kind of
And
stuff.
I also loved the bit where he was really angry at himself in his
and that's in the trailer. And in the trailer it felt a little bit eggy, whereas in the film it felt real. It felt really authentic.
But
What about?
but obviously I absolutely loved his performance.
But you were picking up on details I didn't notice, like his stutter and stuff like that.
I loved his stutter.
I've never heard Leo do a stutter before.
No.
He was so convincing.
And you're not a Leo fan. You think he's
No,
never performed well in a film ever. That's what you've gone on record as saying.
No, I do not say
She has
that.
said that.
I never say that. But it's just that I'm not such a huge, unremitting fan as, say, Maddie is.
Yes.
Sometimes he can be a bit... But I thought he was absolutely brilliant.
Be a bit
in
what?
this.
Be a bit what,
Nothing. Just not quite as good as maybe.
I thought the vulnerability he showed.
Absolutely.
I thought his alcoholism. I thought, I wish Tarantino had let him indulge more in the alcoholism and struggling with not drinking, that lovely, all that sort of stuff.
I also wanted to say that I thought Margot Robbie was in it quite a bit.
She was.
Everybody said that she wasn't given enough screen time, so I was expecting like hardly
I
any.
did hear he went back into the edit after his "I do not accept your hypotheses." I think he did go in and sort of tweak something and put a few more shots for
But
it.
still, it made sense within the.
Yeah.
I thought.
Well, interestingly, given that you don't get what you think you're going to get with the Sharon Tate murder at the end, you can't really argue that it was gratuitous featuring of her. Because actually it's not about... This film, everyone, isn't about the Sharon Tate murder.
No, it's not.
I mean, which I still can't quite get my head round. I'm a bit confused.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I'm a bit confused.
Well, to be honest, by the end of it, I didn't really see the point of having her in it.
No, you could. Why not just make it a film about subcultural hippiedom in LA and happen to have him? That's a very good point. Why park
Well, no,
it?
it's a point, but I don't think it's a very good point because what I'd say to that,
In your opinion,
in my opinion, of course, is that's where I think that the film isn't for people of Maddie's age. In terms of what it meant to the world.
But I get what it meant to the world, but it wasn't in the film.
No, but we didn't need it to be. In fact, it was better that it wasn't.
I felt a bit guilty though, because I quite enjoyed the hippies getting smashed up.
Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah, no,
I thought he was a bloody annoying hippie, the one who did his tyre. I wanted to punch his face in.
Yeah,
Which
but I
one?
thought the woman
The one who
in
did his
that-
tyre.
Oh, right, yeah,
caravan
he was irritating.
was scary as anything.
The woman in
You
the
guys
caravan?
didn't-
Which woman?
Well, when he went in to see Bruce
I
Dern.
didn't
Oh,
think
in the
she was-
house.
She was.
Yeah, in the
she
house.
was.
She was
like,
Dakota
promised-
Fanning, wasn't it? It's
Yeah.
Dakota Fanning.
She was like promised to be scarier than she. She didn't do anything. She just sat on a chair.
No, but I know she's the one that did it.
The whole film is a series of vignettes, some of which are very funny, some of which are funny, some of which succeed, and many of which it felt like, you know, when you put your keys in a car and you fire it up and the ignition is promising to take, and it just felt like it never quite took.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it never sort
I
of
think that was
really got
disappointing.
going. Yeah, I thought you were disappointed. Let's get to the sort of summary
Yeah,
then.
but I was disappointed.
It was, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think of some.
It had all the great, great possible. It was a Tarantino film with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. It had
Yeah.
Margot Robbie. It was
got-
about Sharon
yeah.
Tate murders. It
Yeah.
had so much potential.
Yes.
And then it just completely chucked it to the side. I thought.
Literally.
You're gonna take
it
that,
did.
Mum?
No, because being literal historically, yes, that's true, but I don't think Tarantino ever is.
No, he never is.
No, what he usually is he usually shocks you or has some major plot twist or something you never expected, but what really happens is nothing. Nothing happened. Literally nothing
A
happened.
woman ran out of a mansion, and Leo went for her with a.
Yeah, I mean
That was the most shocking
Yeah.
part.
Well, it was
of the
supposed
film.
to be.
But then I felt like he just did it because he knew that none of us had been shocked throughout the rest of the film.
Well, I think
there
Maddie's
is
kind
that.
of nailed it a little bit. Let's put it. This is a spoiler review. The final scene felt like Tarantino was sat in the edit suite.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant and it's indulgent.
Yeah.
But it felt like Tarantino was sat in the edit suite and he hadn't shot this final scene. And he looked at his editor and he looked at his crew and he's like, I'm saying, guys, they need to see some brain splatting. I mean, you've got to have a brain splatter
saw
or
some brain splatter.
we've got to say, yeah, well, we do. But it kind of came so oddly in Leo's villa.
Yeah.
Then with Leo and a flamethrower, which was a scene that Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor, was very, very concerned about doing. I think
Yeah.
he felt very dubious about that. Just as, in fact, Brad Pitt requested that they end or change very much the Bruce Lee scene. Brad Pitt didn't want to disrespect Bruce Lee any more than they did.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're right, Maddie. I mean, I think they had that scene, so there's a lot of extraordinarily gruesome violence at the end, but it felt like it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wonder now you've said about the possibly not being able to do the actual Sharon Tate murders, whether he rearranged the end, because
Yeah.
I can almost see myself lots of. I mean, it was fine for me. It worked for me. I didn't want to see the actual murders.
I have to confess, a sort of sinking feeling happened. But the reason there's any hesitation in me on this whatsoever, and what I do think is Tarantino's strength, is that I felt a very similar thing when I saw The Hateful Eight for the first time. And I was kind of, I was a bit meh. And then with each viewing, I've seen it 3 times, I got more and more and more from it.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I was really interrogating, I was really wanting to luxuriate in the shots. And what I was luxuriating in, which I sometimes think is what you were saying, but it did that. He got shots of 60s Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. We saw the stuff.
All the stuff we've already seen.
But all the stuff we've already seen, and he just showed us it. He didn't interpret it, and it wasn't represented to me in a way that kind of made me rethink Hollywood at that time at all. It was like picture postcard shots, and so whereas someone like David Lynch with what was it, Lost Highway, or
Lost
where
Highway, yeah.
Okay, it's very different, but the idea that LA was contorted and subverted
Yeah.
and what was going on. I thought he was going to peel back something, and I didn't feel he peeled back anything other than what we saw on the streets at the time and what we've seen on the footage of the time. So for me, I felt it was a misfire. So I am going to go and watch it again when I've got a spare 3 hours somewhere. But even though I think with The Hateful Eight and many of his films they reward on a second watch, I'm not entirely convinced this one will. Leonardo DiCaprio I thought was brilliant. I wanted more of him. Yeah. Strangely, I felt it was more Brad Pitt's film than Leo's.
I did, me too.
Yeah,
I did,
wasn't it?
although-
Brad Pitt, well, it's his first. He's won me over.
Yeah.
He's won me over. Man Crush
With his
City.
pecs.
I want his shirt. I want his pecs. Just him on a roof changing an area. So again, it's littered with filmic moments that you just go, oh yeah, that's fun. But none of it amounted to the film that I thought I was going to see.
No.
And so for me, if I give my score, it's my second big, profound disappointment of the year. The other one being Midsommar. That said, so I'm going to give this, it's not bad by any means, but it's not great. It's really average, so I'm going to give it 5.5 out of 10.
No. Oh my goodness.
I did actually think that the trailer was very messy, but I was just like, oh, the trailer's it's just a bad trailer, like the film could be bad. I love Tarantino, I love Leonardo, I love Margot Robbie, I actually like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
So I was like, it just seems like it'd be perfect.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Chuck them all together, it's going to work.
Yeah, and so I did have really high hopes watching this, and I did think it was going to be one of my favourite films of the year. And I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It sounds like I'm just being negative in this review, but there was a lot that I liked about it as well. It's just, I felt like even the stuff I liked, I wanted more of. And yeah, I did feel like it was more of a Brad Pitt film, and I'm like the biggest Leonardo fan there is. So it's just but I thought Leonardo's performance was absolutely amazing. But I agree, I just felt Tarantino could have given him more, or like kind of helped him more with the way it was shot and just the way it was directed. And I did think it was as messy as the trailer was. I felt like it was quite a messy film. At the beginning I was thinking that I thought that the way that they put together the Sharon Tate side and the Leonardo side was actually kind of working.
Yeah, it was for me.
Too much. But then it was like halfway through the film when it went 6 months later, and when the narrating started, I got really confused, which is really weird because you think that the narration would help you understand it more.
Very true.
But as soon as times, places, narration got involved, I was like, wait, what? What's happening? Because also, you were being told all these facts that didn't actually happen,
right? And
didn't in any way help the outcome of the film. I thought. And although I loved the scene with the hippies like coming into Leonardo's house, it was really well done. I don't know. There was just something that wasn't allowing me to enjoy the film as much as I was wanting to.
No, I agree.
And I was really expecting some major twist at the end. But there was nothing.
Well, the twist was one of omission.
Yeah, and although it was funny in parts, I thought I was going to laugh more when I laughed. And I felt like there could have been a lot
felt you were a
more.
bit bored at times as well.
I was very bored at times.
Yeah, I could feel it. I could feel it.
And I felt like the showing the clips from, Leonardo in his films and stuff were too long. It was too much. I was like, I don't really care. Like, you're an actor, you've done stuff, we get it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I did like the bit though when they showed him on the car, going over this massive gap, and it just put Cliff.
But even that, though that was funny, it was so out of keeping with the rest of it.
I didn't feel like the film stuck to anything at all.
Stylistically.
It's
true.
And like you said at one point, I just didn't feel there was a script to it either. It was like
I thought the script, there was no script rather than it even being a weak script.
It was.
But I was willing to.
It was all just improvised, I thought.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anyone was a bad actor. I didn't think any acting was bad. It was just that the script and the film itself didn't really help the actors. I just felt like it was quite a messy film. So I would give this a 5.
Wow.
And it's a 5 because I love the acting and I loved it when it was good.
Okay.
It was disappointing.
Yeah, I'd say that. That's how I feel. I feel like half of it was good.
Yeah.
Unlike the other two, I thought all of it was great. I did think there was no script, and I did think there were some long years. I thought some of the scenes went on too long. And when I say this strange sounding thing of it was for my age, I mean by that things like, for 10 years I used to watch cowboy shows on TV and adore the cowboys, who they were.
So you are that generation that was immersed in that TV cowboy thing,
in the TV cowboy thing before they got to film things. So that was really important to me. I could have watched any amount of that, and he did give us a lot of that. And then all the stuff about the hippies and Vietnam and people not respecting their parents, all of that was stuff that we were going through in England too. And I liked the messiness of it. I thought the messiness absolutely reflected the messiness of the life.
Well, dare I say, it also, it does slightly, the messiness, reflect LA.
Yeah.
LA itself is a sort of strange, sprawling mass without focus.
Yeah.
And this film is a strange, sprawling mass without focus.
And jittery, she used the word, jittery.
Yeah,
and that was partly because the drugs were new drugs, and nobody knew what they were taking. He showed that very well with Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
I think that acid trip could have been fun.
Oh, he could have gone so much funnier with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt taking acid is something that I want to see.
Yeah, he didn't really
There's
want to do that.
There was a bit with his hand that was funny, but again, it's like the sparking of an ignition. I was ready to roar.
That's what I felt like for the most of the film. I was
ready to roar, ready to laugh, ready to gasp, ready to be shocked, and I just wasn't asked of me.
Well, I don't know what.
But go on, I like what you're saying there. So you believe that you feel that what its strength is that sun-baked kind of. jittery.
Going past all the signs and nothing being clear.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, I mean, when Margot Robbie goes in to say, it's my film, you know, I'm in this film, and her
really
delight
sweet.
as she's looking around at all the... I just thought it was absolutely quintessential Hollywood stroke LA. But the scene where they go and Brad Pitt finds the hippies and Bruce Dern's in the house, I thought that was very threatening, and I expected something. I suppose in a way I did expect something more dreadful to happen there.
Yeah, that's what
I did.
Yeah, but I was sort of satisfied because
I still appreciate it was tense.
Yeah, so altogether, I love the performances of the two main actors.
Soundtrack, you can't not mention the
soundtrack.
soundtrack.
The soundtrack was all my music.
We'll be buying
too.
the soundtrack. Yeah, fabulous.
California Dreaming.
Wow.
So yeah, all of that stuff, and I would give it an 8.5.
Oh, wow. An 8.5. Well, there you go. So do you think Quentin will make film number 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you heard it might be Star Trek?
Shut up.
Yeah, no, apparently he's got a script in for an R-rated Star Trek.
Oh.
Paramount are considering it.
Oh.
Can't even understand that. Well, that means for me, my big hope of this year now is The Joker.
Oh, if that disappoints me, I might just have to die.
It's a weird old year this year.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.